Welcome everybody in our podcast series, The Future of Sales. Today, our special guest for the first podcast is Eiso Bleeker. Welcome, Eiso.
Thank you. I'll be honored to be in the first podcast.
Well, we're honored to have you. Eiso, just quickly, let's present yourself. I know for many years you were sales director at KPN, and then afterwards, when we got to know each other, you were the director of the Sales Management Association. Perhaps in a few words, can you explain to us what is the Sales Management Association?
Yes, we are an association. It's already in our name, with a lot of members, more than 2,000. And we have a lot of branches with companies. So we talk with all the companies about the B2B sales they do every day. So we learn a lot about them. I think we organize 90 to 100 events per year. But I speak also a lot of members one-to-one.
All right. And how many members do you have?
I think 2,000 plus.
Yeah, plus 2,000 members. Well, so in this series, the idea is to talk to experts in sales. And of course, you know, when you talk to more than 2,000 members on a daily basis about the sales, we thought, you know, you're the ideal person again to interview and to have your insights.
I hope so.
To start with that. And so let's talk a little bit about the future, about what happened over the last 10 years and how do you see the future? Now, in preparation of the podcast, we had a few topics. So I'm going to look at my topics, and I see the first one we discussed was marketing. You said the role between sales and marketing has evolved. We remember all a very famous article, Ending the War Between Sales and Marketing, which was done by Kotler and Neil Rackham.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. What do you see?
They definitely changed. I think 5-10 years ago, it was separate organizations doing nothing with each other. The only thing they did was marketing, was building the brands, and sales was doing sales. Now they're working very close together. I think COVID has also helped that they come together, because you have to be different. You have to have USPs in the market, and that's the way sales and marketing have to work together to be very unique in the market and find the right things they can give the customers.
Together. All right. So I think that we hear a lot about omni-channel, is the fact that our customers are contacting us via different channels. And so sales and marketing need to be at different moments in the process, need to be engaged with the client. So we discussed also, and you gave some examples as well, that you said, well, the role of sales, which was in the past was very much about lead generation, is now moving entirely up to marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, in the early days, you saw sales were networking, going to events and all kind of things to find new leads.
Yes.
That was not a part of marketing. They were building with the brands and that kind of things. Nowadays, you see that marketing is generating the leads by making content. So sales is not anymore, they can go to events and that kind of things, but now they get the leads from marketing. On a lead nurturing way with all kind of points and that kind of things, they get more hot leads. In Dutch we call it warme broodjes.
Yes.
To them. So sales can work better with it than in the early days.
All right. So what we're seeing is that marketing is doing much more of the lead generation, the idea of the salesperson cold calling. Anyway, these days it's difficult to cold call anybody.
Yes.
Yeah. So marketing is generating much more of the leads, is nurturing those leads. Yeah. You spoke to me about the pointing system as well that we see now, because in the past, I remember 10 years ago, a lot of salespeople saying, I don't want to have any leads from marketing. They're worth nothing. And we saw there was always a conflict. How is that evolving?
Now that's also changing because now I already call it lead nurturing.
Yeah.
You have different steps into the het warme broodje, as we call it in Nederland. Marketing is given it points. Every step further, you get a point, and after 5 or 6 points, or on what way you're also doing it, you hand it over to sales.
So it gets a threshold, and then now it's
where before sales were maybe talking to a customer in the early phase, and it was also probably not even a lead.
No.
And now it comes to sales. That's why we call it warme broodje.
Yeah.
When they hand it over to sales.
Because I remember when I was in sales, when somebody visited the website and they registered for something to download something, that was a lead. And I got immediately the name and I could start phoning.
Yeah.
But it
Now
was
there
very
are
early
more
leads.
steps between it. You put your name on it, but you put a white paper, you go to a seminar and all that kind of thing. That give you points.
So it really becomes an engineered process,
Yeah.
where we nurture and we qualify the lead much more at each step.
Yeah,
of the
and we
way.
call it ook a market qualified lead. And then it hand it over to sales, and then it will be a sales qualified lead.
Right. So marketing does the lead generation, and they do all that. What's left for sales? What's important for sales today versus 10 years ago?
It still be the same, because the process of lead qualification, lead finding new leads, that's not anymore sales. Sales can be more in the sales process. They can be more an expert in that kind of role, where before they were a lot of time took it to find new customers.
To find it, yeah.
And now they can put more focus on the real sales process to get in that the customer into the company.
Yeah. So we've seen evolution from more the operational selling to more the experts.
Yeah.
Sales is becoming much, much more the experts. We talked about it earlier, the analogy that you say, well, look at the influencers on Instagram for makeup and all the other things. We see similar trends arriving in sales. Can you tell us something about that?
I think that the way on Instagram and Facebook people are influencers on that, especially consumer products.
Yes.
You can be in the B2B market the same role on LinkedIn. Or you don't mention it as an influencer, but you are an expert.
Yeah.
So people look at you at short movies, all other kind of content, and the people that think, oh, that's the guy who knows a lot about this proposition or this market. So they find you on a completely other way than they only find it on your company way.
All right. So you're not just a salesperson of the company, you're becoming the expert.
Yeah.
And you position yourself as much as possible as an expert on the market. And you spoke to me about the Salesman of the Year who was awarded last year at SMA, who does that quite well.
Yes,
How does he do it?
It was a young salesperson of the year, so
Yes, it's young people. Yeah.
young people, and he posts every week something. He's working with a company, but he's not mentioning the company. They are in the cleaning services, and he's working in the hospitality branch.
Yes.
So he's always posting content on LinkedIn about that.
Yes.
So people recognize him now as an expert on those two topics. They don't know the name where he's working. And if they have to find information, they think about him and find him. And then is the company coming.
All right. It's an interesting element because we spoke about it as well. So it's not so much about promoting the expertise of your company. It's about promoting yourself. Make it personal.
Yeah.
Make it personal so people will actually look at it. And you yourself, you said, I'm doing that as well. I can post something as an SMA, or I can post something as Eiso.
Yeah.
And it has two different effects.
Absolutely. Well, I do it now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Before we post everything from out SMA, the SMA brand account.
Yes.
And you already know, this kind of likes and comments. Now I do it by myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's 4 or 5 times bigger than it was before because they see me. And one big pointer is I make it personal. And important is personal is not private. That are two different things.
So it's not with your children.
No.
No.
A lot of people think, I have to make it personal. I do it with my children, with my dog and that kind of thing. No, you make it personal. You make the content you find somewhere personal and then post it on LinkedIn.
So it's more about what you think about things, and so you give that's what we mean with personal.
Yeah,
and when it's personal, it's relevant, and then people like it.
Yeah.
When you see, and I think we all do it, and when we see things posted by companies, it looks boring. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And so we don't pay attention. When
And there's always something in your head. Oh, they want to sell me something.
Sell me something. Yeah.
And when it's a person, that's not there.
Well, this is an interesting point. And now you also mentioned when we were preparing about the tendering. Something quite interesting. You said, well, now we also have an award within the SMA for the best tendering process of the person who managed the tender the best. Tell us a little bit about that, because that is new. I never heard about it.
Yeah, that's something completely new. We saw that tendering is becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
So we have to do something with it from now the SMA. And we have a lot of other selections. And now we have this award for the Tender Manager of the Year, because the tender is so important in the daily sales process, if you don't know how to work or do it on a good way, you are completely out of business at the moment.
All right. So that rise of tendering, we see more and more companies going into a more professional purchasing. Is that it, basically?
Yeah.
It's professionalization of the purchasing department, getting us more and more into tenders. Now, when I speak to companies, they're afraid of it. And the question we always get is that, what should we do? If we engage the client early on in the process, we give them a lot of content, we position ourselves as an expert, we give our expertise, but then what do? They put it in a tender and also send it to our competitors to answer. So, should we still share our expertise? Should we do this? Because does it make sense? Should we stop doing it? That's a question that comes back quite a lot. So what is your answer to them?
I think it's a trend. It will be there. So tenders are always there. You can look at it. You can find it nice, not nice. You have to be.
Can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it. So I think it's very important to be in the front of the process and doing on that way that they put information in the tender, so they can't get around you. For instance, there is a tender on the market for the SMA, and when I talk to the people who make the tender, and I say the director has to wear glasses, and when it's that in the tender, the other companies don't have that. So you make USPs, and it's very important to do that in the front. It is the role of sales to get that information into the tender. So I think you have to be there always. And when you stop, you have the problem because then it will be continuing cost, and they have to get lower.
Exactly. Or you will have a tender that will be influenced by a competitor.
Yeah, and then
which is even worse, because then you're stuck as well. So, but this highlights an important element. One is we can't bypass the tendering process. A lot of companies, it's a process. There's not much you can do about it. However, by providing the right expertise, you can actually gain an advantage. All right. But more of that, what you're saying is that, no, it's not just providing expertise. You've got to provide such expertise that is really highlighting your USPs, your unique selling points, so that it will make it very difficult also content-wise for your competitors to answer just like the way you can answer.
Yes.
And like very often you hear that, and we all know it, when you read a tender, you can see, okay, they've been influenced by this and these companies, because you can feel it in the way that the tender is, but that's what you should aim for.
Yes, because when your competitor is in it, you already get...
you're discouraged because
I can't win it, I have to lose, yes.
What also struck me, and I thought it really interesting, is that, okay, that's one point, but you also linked it with the expert on LinkedIn. If you're seen as an expert... perhaps you want to...
Yes, because it's always difficult to influence people. Maybe the company said, no, we don't want to talk about it and that kind of things because we are making a tender. If you are an expert on LinkedIn and the people see it, they also think, oh, maybe this has also to be in the tender. So you can also, if you have experts on LinkedIn from your company, and most of the time that are the salespersons, you can influence, get influence indirectly the tender.
Yeah, because somehow people who have to write the tender have to get the content somewhere. Where do they go? So they look online. So if you are available online, you're promoting yourself online, you have a chance to influence them. And that's,
but you see also the change of the role of LinkedIn. In the past, it was more, looking who's in my network, who do I know there. And now it's much more like Instagram, that you put really content on it who other people can use.
In order to be seen as an expert. It's not just a network now, it's a way for you, a platform for you to position yourself as an expert.
On Instagram and Facebook, we call it influencer. It's exactly the same, but it's a strange word in the B2B word. Yes. So that's why you call it expert.
Okay. All right. So expert, it's about content. Now, let's also talk a little bit about sales methodologies. I remember 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were all talking about consultative selling. The way in which you have to ask questions to help the customers to see their own problems, because the assumption is people don't see always the problems they've got. And through those questions, they see the problem, and then you can show your solution. Today, we see something else, because people know their problems. They don't like that approach anymore. So what's next?
I think the next phase will be more and more challenger sales. And challenger sales is not learn about attitude and that kind of things, tricks. No, you have to be more and more, there's a word again, expert.
The expert.
Because then you can challenge the person on the other side. And the other person have to think about, what's he saying or what's he saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I can use it. Or and if you do something there that's completely nonsense, you will not recognize as an expert. So it's very good to have all the knowledge about the market, about your products, so you can be the real expert in that conversation with your customers.
I think that's an interesting point, because when I remember 13, 15 years ago, when the challenges, there was the idea, the concept was emerging, I was hearing a lot about it from IBM. And it was mainly positioned not as a methodology, but it was mainly the IBM was saying, we see a different breed of salespeople. And they called it the challengers, those who actually dare to challenge their clients' thinking. And they said, well, those seem to have really different results from the others. So yes, now there is a methodology. You can learn some tricks in challenger sales. However, at the essence, it's a way of thinking. Yeah, you have to dare to challenge. But in order to do that, you need the knowledge. Without that expertise, knowledge, and we're coming back to it all the time, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And you said earlier, it's going to backfire. It's even worse. Right. Now, last point I want to address with you is, imagine you're a company, and we know many of those, who see this trend, who see it, but I don't have the experts. How can I do it?
I think, my opinion, you can get people from outside your company. That can be a consultant, that can be somebody else, but with that person, you can do a round table.
I really like that idea,
because they don't see you as a part of your company, and they will tell it more and more. Well, maybe you can sit there also as a company, but maybe you can not sit there. Then you have to translate all the content to your own company and what it means to your customers.
So it goes again about this omni-channel element that we started with, where marketing takes over the leads and stuff. We're now saying also, well, besides marketing, you can also go to external consultants or to other experts. They don't have to be your own experts. Yes, you can hire them in, help them, and allow you to have a good discussion, to challenge your clients. But then the challenge for you is going to be available then, so that you can translate whatever is going to be discussed then later on into a sales process, and you could pick it up. So your salespeople don't necessarily have to be the real experts. You can hire them in and then just pick up the lead and then go into the process.
Yes, and what you see is also that some companies hire people from a certain kind of market. If you are into the insurance market, maybe you can get some people from the insurance market into your own sales organization. Because they are so into the business, they exactly know how to translate the information of the round table into their own way of working. Because they know what people are saying there.
And then to conclude, there was one last thing I wrote down, which you mentioned when we were preparing, and I really liked it when you were saying, salespeople, you can't be all things to all people.
No.
You have to choose. So can you just, as a conclusion, elaborate on that one?
A lot of companies will always use that they call the whole market as their customer. Yeah. Nowadays, there are a lot of small companies, big companies who do all kinds of different markets. If you keep chasing on the whole market, it will be very frustrating because it's almost impossible. Choose your customers where you want to be and where's your best market have to be. Choose them and act on that, and stop with getting the whole market as a customer.
Yeah. Again, you can't be an expert to everybody. No. And that's really the reality. So you got to choose, where can I really be an expert?
Exactly.
And that's the market I should focus on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Eiso, thank you very much for this interview, for this first episode, for the kickoff of what many others are going to follow. And it's going to be about the future of sales. Thank you very much.
Thank you.